So today's agenda, I'll refresh your memories. We've done quite a few introductory things in Python. We've learned definitely how to take input and show output. That's the major thing that you do in a program, because otherwise it's useless, right? So we've done that. We've learned that the input function takes a string, assumes everything is a string. So you need to convert it into int or float as the case may be. Not always to int just for the heck of it, because Anju is doing int in class. You don't even read the assignment properly and you start working with ints. You have to think, what do I have to do? Do I have to use the int? I mean, I'm taking an age from the user, age has to be an int. I'm taking marks from a student, marks could be a float, right? So you have to think about it. But all input is assumed to be string. On the other hand, print assumes that everything that needs to be printed has to be a string. So you can put them in quotes, as per se it will be put on the screen. And if you want to show the value of a variable, you will convert it into a string and then output the value on the screen, right? What is a variable? A variable is a named memory location that makes it easy for the user to talk to. So you wouldn't like to talk to memory location 1278 very often, right? So what do? You give names to your memory locations. You say, oh, this is what I want to store in my variable. You can name variables, letters, digits, underscore cannot start with a number. That's the rule. So you name a variable. Python is loosely typed, so you can use the same variable to save a number. Further down the program, you can save a string. Further down the program, you can save a true-false value. So we learned about true-false values when we did the if statement last week. And if you remember, we did the simple if statement. You could do if, you could do if else, you could do nested ifs, and you could also do an elif, which was basically a nested if in Python. Today's agenda, we will continue to work on if. I want to talk about compound conditions today. So compound conditions means you are combining simple conditions. Simple means one, right? So you're combining more than one condition using and, or, and. Not is not a combination, not is just negation. And the rule is simple, and I'll prove the rule to you. Not takes precedence over and takes precedence over on, right? Now again, just to mention, since not all of you are programmers, different languages have different precedence rules. Usually it is not at the top, and then and or are on the same level. Like in BEDMAS, addition and subtraction and multiplication and division are on the same level. You go from left to right. Same also holds in some languages. But Python, you will remember not and or. That's what you will do, right? So my aim is to prove to you that's what it is. Having said that, you can change the precedence anytime you like by using parentheses, right? Now, what I'm doing today may not be the best way of doing it, so I put comments as I go on, but my aim is to show you that how to use ands and ors and nots, and then how to use combinations, like how do they work if I do combinations, okay? Once we finish the if statement, and my aim is that I do everything in if, all kind of conditions, simple and compound, so that I don't have to repeat it. Then we will go on to iterative statements or looping statements. Keep in mind, if is just a decision-making statement. You say, if it is raining, carry an umbrella. That's it. If you ask for input from the user, you say, please give a number greater than 0. You check if number is greater than 0. Else you say you gave a wrong number. But that's it. You can ask again and again and again. So definitely in our daily lives, we like to do things more than once. We repeat our jobs. And therefore, we have repetitive statements or iterative statements in Python, like any other language. So after I finish if, I should be able to do a while at least with it, right? So that's the aim for it. Let's see how much we can do. And as I said, just because I may have to take breaks, but they hopefully will be okay. So bear with me today, okay? I could be a little slow too, just because my brain is not working at the speed it usually does. Okay, so let's start. So we'll start with the normal program. Please open up idles. If you don't prefer to work in idle, that's entirely up to you. You can type your program in Notepad, Notepad++. Please do not use Word because Word has format characters. you can use text pad, which means then how do I compile my code? I'll refresh your memories again. Please see that you open a command prompt. I'm hoping that all of you have installed Python 64-bit on your systems and included C:\Python 34 if you did not when you installed it in your path variable under environment variables. Otherwise, you cannot run. Otherwise, you cannot run Python from the command line. Running programs from the command line was very common a couple of decades back. That was the only option. GUI was not available, right? Graphical user interface. We didn't have all these IDEs, integrated development environment. So we would write our programs in Notepad or TextPad. Notepad was more common. And then we would compile and run our programs on the command line, in the command prompt. So you should know how to do it, because who knows? You may not always have an integrated environment. And usually, many programs still prefer it. As programmer, personally, I've kind of shifted to IDEs because it's just easy, right? But this should be included in your path variable in your environment variables. If it is not, then please ensure you have it. So just go to your control panel, look for your system variables, look for environment variables, and add this to the path variable in your environment variables. It should be available. If when you installed and you had checked it, it would have automatically been added. So if I would like to run a program on the command line, all I do is, so I'll go to something that I've done with you. So these are the two programs we were working on last week. I'll just change my directory to this particular directory just because that's where my programs reside. So the command to change a directory is CD for change directory. It's very easy. You could just do a paste here, and now you are in that particular directory where your programs are residing. Once you are in the directory where your programs are residing, then to run a program, all you do is Python. So you're calling the Python exe. So there is a file Python exe already sitting on your laptop. Where? In that directory. Therefore, you have to include that in your path variable. And then depending upon which program you want to run, I'll just go program 1. And because my program is a word that comes with all of the programs, I'll say program 1, and now I can do a tab. No, not yet. Oh, because my spelling is wrong. Yeah, M is missing. Now, if I just start and I give a tab, it will complete it for me. Since all my program names start with program 1, 2, so on, I'll have to always type program 1, 2, and then I can do a tab and it will complete it. Once I do that, I'm running this program as if you were running it F5, as if you were running it in idle. Same thing. So I call the Python exe file, which is an executable file to run my code in this program. Python is... Oh, Python was also spelled wrong. I told you my brain is not working too well today. Python. Okay, so Python. There, right? So Python, I misspelled it. So it said there is no program called Python. Logical. It says I couldn't find it, right? You can always get your previous command by using your arrow key, right? The up arrow key will copy the command that you had given. So it saves you some time retyping it. So just press the arrow key and you can get the previous command and then you can make changes in it. So let's see what happens. This is a program which is running. Remember, it was asking your name. I think then it was asking the age, and then it was adding 5 years to it and doing it. So the program still runs, right? So the program can be run either in the command prompt window, which you should know how to do. It's important. It's not a big deal. You're just running the python.exe file. You could have written python.exe instead of Python, but it's usually not required. The only thing to be remembered is this must be in your environment variables path variable. So environment variables has a variable called path, and this must be present in it. You put a semicolon before and after. They're separated by semicolons. So you have to know it, because many times you will find the need to work on the command window, not only in Python, maybe otherwise also. So all that you do in your GUI, like if you're so used to using the Windows GUI to delete files, to copy files, and so on, you can do all those things in on the command line. Like that's how it was in the DOS days. This operating system was the operating system that was Windows original baby, right? Decades back, 30 years back. But it was. So everything had to be done on the command line. So if I want to delete a file, I can just say delete and whatever. If I want to delete all the files in a directory, I can say delete star.star. So everything works. So you as networkers should know how to do things on the command line and also how to do it in a GUI environment, right? Definitely, all of us are lazy in the sense, and why not? If we have a resource, why not use it instead of doing it ourselves? Okay, so you should be aware that you should be able to run your programs on the command prompt. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this, and we will start a new program. Don't forget, I need your name, the date, and the purpose of the program at the head. So the purpose of my program today is to work with compound conditions, right? That is my aim today. So we worked with simple conditions. Simple means the condition was there was only one condition in your if. Now we are going to work with compound conditions. So I'm going to code a Python program to showcase, all caps, anyway. It's not, I mean, comments are comments. It really doesn't matter. They can be all caps, but it's neatness that looks odd. I'm writing them in the order. Not has highest, and as next, and or has the third. Let's say using here so that it's not confusing. Remember, these were the 3 Boolean operators you did last week. So we talked about them, but we didn't use them. So you should be knowing what arithmetic operators are. You've already done an assignment on it. We did work with relational operators, equal, not equal, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, greater than, less than. And today we'll also work with these Boolean operators. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a simple example, show you how and, or, and not work, and then take compounds also, so that you know. So again, my examples may not be the best, but the aim is that you understand what's going on. So let's try to use what we already know, so that way at least we are reiterating what we've learned classes. Okay, so I'm going to do the simplest job that most of you do every day. You log into your computers. It could be computers, it could be any network, or maybe even a bank account or whatever. A username is asked of you and a password is asked of you. And if both of them are correct, you're allowed to access your code. Having said that, a better way would have to be first ask the username. If the username is correct, then you ask the password and then go ahead. But again, as I said, my aim today is to kind of use ands, or, and nots. So I'm going to ask the username, I'm going to ask the password. Now again, what you ask has to be checked against something. Now I'll use hardcode data. I'll assume that the 2 things I'm checking are A, Chawla, and Anju, for example. But of course, that's not how it works in the real life. All usernames and all passwords are kept in a data structure. That data structure could be a list, a hash map, and so on. A data structure is like a big box, right? And then when you give something, it is searched for in that box. Oh yes, A Chawla exists. And then against A Chawla, that's the password of A Chawla, and then it is done. So this big box could be a volatile, something that vanishes when the program closes. It could be a volatile data structure in your code, which could be a list. It could be any kind of collection. Let's call it collection. Languages call it collection. Or you may save it in a file, a text file. It's just text, nothing else. Or you may save it in a database, in a table. So having said that, we will go the easiest today because we are just week 3 and we're trying to learn. So we'll take hard-coded data. Oh, this should be the username and this should be the password. As soon as we do list, which I think will be one more week and we'll start doing it, we can keep our data in a list. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to ask of the user, I'm going to ask the user for the username. We already know that we will need a variable to save it. So assign to username, use the input function, give a good prompt message. You can say, please enter the username. Usually we don't go yours and so on. And it goes in the username. Now, as I said, it would have been better to check if the username is correct before asking the password, but my aim is a little different. So ask for the password. Not sure if I said that we were broadcasting. Okay, we are. Right? Again, comments are a necessary evil requirement in your code. I need to see comments wherever. Now, my comments could be a little different from yours because I try to explain things, right? I write more than what is required because I want you to remember it when you read your program. But that doesn't mean that you will also comment as if you are explaining things to me in the sense, oh, this can be done and this can also be done. You just write what you are doing in your code. Okay, so let's take another variable. Again, you can call it whatever you like as long as you do not use a reserved word for it. So don't use words like if or while because they are reserved. They have a meaning already in the Python language. So don't use them. Only use what is not available, which is not a keyword. And there are thousands you can make up. You have letters, you have digits, you have underscore. So you can make up thousands and thousands of names, but make a good name, right? So I'm going to again take an input. Of course, I'll change the message. Now I want to check if both inputs match and are correct. Now there are a few ways of doing it. So we'll start with the simplest. I'll just say access denied or access not denied. Then I can always tell the user whether the username is wrong or the password is wrong. Now for security reasons, maybe you don't even want to tell that. You don't want to say what is wrong and what is not wrong. But I'm just going by how we do it in the computers. If your username is wrong, it comes up saying, oh, the username is wrong. If the password is wrong, it does come up. But again, what decision needs to be made or how you will write your code will depend upon your application, right? So keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check if both inputs are correct and they match. But just what am I going to match them against, right? So just for this purpose, of course, this is not the right way. We should have used something generic. You could use a collection for your information. You could use a file. You could use a database where you've saved your data, right? So just for the purpose of some data checking, should have used a collection file or database in the real life, which hopefully we will. But that's just for the purpose. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a secret username. I'm just calling it secret because it's not, it's secret, right? I'm going to put my name in it. You can do whatever you like. The single quotes are also seem like they work. It also was going green. You can check. So I'm going to use this data because, as I said, you have to have something, right? You have to have something. So I'm assuming that the username that you provide must be A Chawla and the password that you provide must be Anju. That's me. I mean, I have to check against something. Okay. So you can choose whatever you like. But again, I mentioned that this is not how in the real life you will hard code the username and password, because this will only work for A Chawla and Anju. That's not a program we want. We want a generic program that takes any username, any password, checks it against a collection, sees that it matches, sees it is correct, and then goes forward. But at this point of time, we are not yet there. The concept here is that you understand what I'm doing. Okay. So again, I've said should have used a collection file database, but it will come. Now, all we need to do is this. I want to check if the username that was provided to me, oh, the username had a hyphen. I mean, it depends on what you called it. If the username is equal to the secret username, and strings are also compared with the equality operator. So you have seen the equality operator when you were comparing numbers, right? You can compare numbers using the two equal signs. Here I'm using the two equal signs to compare strings also. Strings are also compared with two equal signs. Again, just as an aside so that you know, languages will behave differently. Some languages use different methods, equals ignore case, string compare functions, and they can be different. Not all languages will allow you to use the same operator to compare numbers and to compare strings. Python works, so since we are learning Python, we'll work with it. So you can make a note for yourself. Strings are also compared with the equality operator. And it's not always true, so that you know. Maybe in the long run, who knows? That you kind of change your mind and you start and become a programmer. Or you see some other code and you say, what's happening here? Why haven't they used the two equal signs? Remember, every language has different operators. Like any normal language, like English is different from Hindi, is different from Spanish, is different from French, right? They have their own rules, they have their own alphabets, they have their own letters. So same thing here. Every language has its own syntax rules, has its own rules, own operators. So when you learn a language, you just learn the rules of the language. That's all you do. So if you know one language, it's not very difficult to learn another language. Once you get the logic. It's the logic that is more important to understand. Can you write a program is okay, that's fine. Right? So that's what you're trying to learn. So the language is introducing you to Python just because Python is an easy language, widely used. And so we chose Python. You could have done Java, but Java is a tough language. So we went with Python for CSTN because it's used more. It's used more in Python rather than anywhere else. Though it has many uses, that's how it is. Okay, so if the username is a secret username and you want to check both, right? And your password is equal to the secret password, I'll show you another way of writing it, but this is one way of doing it. right? So what do you want to do? Of course, you want to print a message to the user saying, oh, everything is okay. So you can say something like print, right? And say access granted. Now, we have said that else is not a compulsory part of an if, but I've also mentioned that never leave the user in, oh, what's happening, right? Always tell the user that something went wrong. So I'm going to say print, and I'm going to say access is denied. Now I could have gone further and told the user, let me save this before I lose it. So again, you're saving wherever you are saving. I'm saving so that I can find it where I want it. So this is program 3. And we are under compound conditions today. Again, you don't have to name them exactly like I name them at all. You follow your own conventions or your own way of whatever. I tried to go so that it helps me which week I did what. Okay, so this is one way of doing it. Nothing bad in it at all, right? So if both are correct, it will work. And if they are not, if either one of them is not correct, remember the AND rule? The AND rule says every condition must be true for the compound condition to be true. That's the simple rule of AND. And if you've forgotten it, please see that you write it. The compound, the compound condition involving AND is true if and only if all associated or that's how AND works, okay? Keep that in mind. So it's just like the normal English AND. AND means this must be true, and this must be true, and this must be true. So if you can remember one rule, the rest 3 is simple. False and false will give you false. False and true will give you false. True and false will also give you false. So the compound condition is true if all your conditions are true. Let's try to run this code. Right, and then I'll kind of give you a better way of checking it where you can tell the user that what was wrong. Was the username incorrect or was the password incorrect? Though again, for security reasons, you may not want to do that. Maybe your client says, no, we don't want to tell the user, because then the user says, oh, the username is correct, I can hack and find the password, or vice versa. At least that password exists. I'll try to find to whom does it belong. So that could be a different reason, but I'll show you a better output message. So let's run this, do an F5, invalid syntax, because I forgot my 2 equals. There it is. Let's save it and let's run it again. Okay, so it says, please enter the username. I'll just go AA and AA, and it will say access is denied. Makes sense? Because neither matches, right? Let's try to match 1. Let's try to match 1. So I'll enter the username as AA and I'll enter my password as Anju, which is correct. But still my access will be denied because my password is, my username is wrong, right? I go back, I do an F5 again, and I say my username is Chawla, and I say that my password is Anju and access is granted. Works. Right? So nothing wrong in it, but as I mentioned, why would you take 2 inputs before even checking that the first input is right? I had that extra blank because I had that extra blank here. So when you look at the output and you see something is amiss, a spelling mistake, or something is not properly formatted, come back to your print and see where you went. That's all you do. Whatever you print is whatever comes back. Okay? Okay, so it looks fine, works fine, and has been proved. Any condition is false, it doesn't work. Both conditions is false, doesn't work. Both conditions are true, it works. Now, just to show it to you and to reiterate your if, else, and else if statements, since we've done it. So I can't say whether it is a better way or is it more efficient. You can say whether your username was wrong or whether you can say the password was wrong. But a student pointed out yesterday that for security reasons, you should not even tell what is wrong. So again, that's up to you. Right? My aim is that I'm reiterating your if and else if, and then I'll show you how it is done. So you can do it another way is to inform the user the erroneous, what went wrong, right? What was your erroneous input? Whether the username was wrong or whether the password was wrong. Okay. Okay, so let's do that now. Again, it will be an if statement, but I'll go step by step. I'll check the username first. If the username is correct, then I'll check if the password is correct and I'll do the message, which is how actually you should have kind of done it. So you should be asking for password only after the username is correct. But as I said, my aim is to teach you but also mention that with what is more efficient, right? So another way would be to inform the user it is more efficient and the password should be asked or should be input or should be accessed, whatever you like. And that's how usually you will do it. But you know what I mean? On many systems, like even on our own laptops, for example, you see both of them together. It asks for username and password together. They both come together. So you have to enter both before you can log in. Sometimes only the username will come. Once the username is correct, the password is asked. Otherwise, it's not. So the choice is what we are trying to do. Yes, you had a question. Okay, so tell me the error. Read the error for me.
Undefined does not match any outer indentation level.
Okay, so there is some indentation problem is what it is saying. Do you remember the rule of indentation in Python, right? When you indent in Python, you have to say this matches this. Okay, so let's do an okay there. Okay, do an okay there. Let's see. Notice, is your else matching your if? Do they start at the same column? No, that's what I'm saying. Not right. Okay. Keep in mind, indentation is important in Python. If you have to match your if and else's, if you have to say that this else is a part of this if, you have to start from the same point. If you don't, then you'll have an error like an indentation problem or something. So think what it means. Okay? So you have to learn to read errors, because if you don't learn how to read errors, then you won't learn how to program further, right? So that's another job. In programming, you learn how to program, but you also learn how to read the errors. At the end of the day, you have to do that. You have to debug your program. It's called debugging the program. Okay, so let's go one at a time. So the first thing I'm going to check is I'm going to check if the username is correct. So I'm going step by step. And again, the aim of going step by step, excuse me, the aim of going step by step is because you've done this and you should know it. Okay, so if the username is correct, my next job would be now to ask, actually I should be asking the password here, but I already have it, so I'm going to check it. I'm going to check if the password is okay. So an if inside an if, right? So that's a nested if. So you should have actually asked for the password here, but since I've already asked it, I'm kind of using it here, right? So if again you want to make a note for yourself, should have input. But anyway, as I said, you see it. You see it all the time. Username and passwords are usually asked together. Like I'm not sure if it's everywhere, but most of the inputs that I work with, most of the sites I work with, whether it be Blackboard, whether it be login into our computer, whether it be GitHub and so on, it's always username and password, whether it be LinkedIn. So they're asking it together and making a match, right? So instead of should have, you could have said could have, so that you know it can be done. Okay, if the password is correct, that means the username is correct, the password is correct. So what should you do? You should print that the access is granted. Make sense? Right? So one at a time. You'll say, what's the use? What did you do? Like instead of an AND condition, which is fine, you created a nested if. But my reason of doing that was I was going to now say something like this. You can else now print incorrect. What is incorrect in this one? Password. Right? And what is incorrect in the first one? Username. So you can say incorrect password and you can say access denied if you would like to see the same message. And again, please notice how I have matched my else's with my ifs in terms of indentation, right? How I have matched the two. So nothing wrong in it. It's just being clear that what went wrong. So if both were, if the secret, the name, username was correct, then it tested if the password was correct. And if it was okay, access was granted. Else is this partner of this if. It says incorrect password and here it should say incorrect username. Copy and paste, but of course a different message. So that's another way of doing it. You've seen it, right? You've seen this else if before. But today I wanted you to see the and I've proved to you. You can check, you can give false, 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 true, true, false, and true, true. Try everything. So if the compound condition is if and if all conditions and true, and then you can say run with all 4 options. When I say run with all 4 options, I'm saying true, 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 false, false, true, and false, false. That's your aim, right? That's your aim. That's what and will prove. So this should work too. It will exactly work like it was working. Your access will only be granted if everything is correct. The other thing that will be different is it will tell you what went wrong if your access was denied. Let's try it with me. Uh-oh, end of line scanning. I forgot my double quotes. Because I copied and pasted. So if you see an EOL error, end of line, that means I forgot to end my line, right? So that's another error that can occur. I forgot to put my double quotes back and it gave me an EOL scanning error. So what it meant was end of line couldn't be scanned, okay? Okay, let's save it. Let's try to run it. Okay, so it says enter the username. So we'll go AA and AA. It says access denied, and it is giving me only one message of incorrect username. It can give me both messages together. Please understand, if this if is incorrect, it will automatically go to its else. It doesn't go inside to check the second if. You have to be careful about that too. So it didn't tell me that both were wrong. If I wanted that both were wrong, then I'll have to change my code a little. Then I'll have to say your username and password are incorrect. So which I can only say kind of here, right? That's the only thing I can say here. So this one is working, except it says your username is incorrect. Though both of them are incorrect, but it looked for the first if. The first if was only checking username. The username was incorrect. It directly came to the else and it says incorrect username. Right? In the first one, you could do it where you say access denied, there you could kind of say, but no, I can't even say there because who knows what was incorrect. Here we can manipulate maybe. So if this is correct and this is correct, and that means either of them okay, I'll have to think about it. It can be manipulated. It's not a big thing. Okay, let's try again and run it. So let's give a correct username, but let's give a wrong password. So access will be denied. That access denied is coming from the first if else. The second one is saying incorrect password, which makes sense. The password is incorrect, right? So you can try combinations. I'm doing the same thing that I did before, and it still works with a different message. Let's try A Chawla and Anju. Access granted in both cases. You see two of them because there are two if statements. Keep that in mind, right? It's duplicate. It's not duplicating. It's because I duplicated my code. So the second one, is it better than the first? I don't know. I really don't know. It depends upon the application you're writing. How specific would they like you to be? So if the application says, tell me what is wrong, then the second one is definitely better, right? But it's not using a compound condition. But I did still do it because just reiterating what you did from last week. Okay, so there we've done the and. Let's now try the or. Right, so and is simple. I mean, in the simple, they're all simple. There's nothing tough in them. Let's try the or now, and we'll take something, an example of the or condition, and we'll work something like this. We'll do this. We'll say that you guys are taking the Python introductory course. So we'll say that you can take the advanced course if you have taken the intro to Python or intro to Java. Either of the course, any intro to programming. So you can take the advanced Python course if you have already done, like prereqs to your other courses. Remember, they're prereqs when you take courses. So you can say, oh, you can take this course if you've either taken the intro to Python course, and I'm just saying intro to Java just because that's another language. Okay, so let's now work with the or condition. Right, and working with the or condition, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of use this example where student wants to enroll in advanced Java, right? But can do so if and only if either she has passed intro to Python or intro to Java. Okay, so make sense. It says student wants to enroll in advanced Java. You can give it a name if you like. If we need, we will, like, but I'm kind of just going. So let's call intro to you can give them some names. Okay, we can give them some names. So let's call this intro to SEM1 course. So you can call it whatever you like. I'll try to keep it with the first section. So I'll call it SEM course 1. It's a semester course 1. And this is also a semester course 1, but I'm just calling it course 2. So that you know what the two courses are, right? Now, it kind of looks very simple, normal as we would do it in our everyday lives. We would say, oh, you can only take the advanced course if either of the conditions is true. So how does OR work? OR says the compound condition is true. It's not a or condition, it's an or operator. Right? So that's an or operator we are doing. And the compound condition is true. If either of the involved simple condition that's the rule. Right? That's the rule. That's all. That's how all works. And works, it is true if everything is true, or is true if any one of them is true. Any one will do. Of course, if they're all false, then it will. Right? But even if at least one. When I say at least, let's say at least means two can also be true. If at least, let's say at least. So I hope you know the meaning of at least. At least means one or more, right? So one can be true, two can be true, three, whatever. So you could have many odds and so on. But at least one of them is true. So not only one, at least one. I said either here because we were only working with two conditions. Okay, let's try. Let's try if it works. So let's write it. So a student wants to enroll in these courses, and what we will do is we'll take the SEM course 1 and we'll give it some values. We have to, right? So we'll say the SEM course 1 is true. Please remember, Boolean operators in Python are written as true and false. True with a capital T and false with a capital F. That's how they work. That's how you spell them. There is no other way. Though there are other values for it. I think if I'm not mistaken, false is 0 can also work as false. Right? You can use, if you assign a variable 0 to a variable, that is a false variable. There is something with true false also with 0 condition. When it comes back, I'll let you know. So I've given this as true, and I say, oh, this person doesn't have the intro to Java course. I've said you have the intro to Python course, but you don't have intro to Java. So again, the same if statement. I'm saying if the SEM 1 course 1, oops, we can't use special characters. So we are basically saying that if SEM course 1 is true and SEM course 2 is true, that's what we will do. So I'm going to write it like, I'm going to write it with equal to true, but then I'll show you that we can write it without even saying equal to true. So I'll write it like this, which looks a little odd, but I'll show you a different form of writing it. Right? So you're basically saying that the SEM 1 course 1 should be true and SEM 1 course 2 should be true. That's what you're saying. Now you can, and it's more easy to read also, you should actually kind of write it like this. You should just say like this. You should say if SEM 1 course or SEM 2 course. I would write it like this. I wouldn't write it like equal to true. I would prefer you to also write it like this. Why? Because it's more human-like reading. So you don't usually say if raining is equal to true. You just say if raining. You know what I mean? So here instead of saying if SEM course 1 is equal to true or SEM course is equal to true, you can simply say if SEM 1 course or SEM 2 course. That's the short form, right? And I'll tell you the not in a minute so that you know. So somewhere here, we'll do a tab here. So what am I saying? Both of them should be true. If both of them are true, we will do a print statement. We'll say you can enroll in the advanced Python programming course. So you allow the user to do it. right? Else, again, since I've written only one of them, again, if I wanted to say something else, kind of, oh, you should be doing this or this, I'll just kind of give a message which says that you should be you need a credit in one of the courses, Intro to Python or Intro to Java. I'm telling the user something went wrong. You can do it. Oops, no semicolons. Make sense? Right? Now your job will be again the same thing. Take both of them to be true, false. Take both of them to be false, false. Take both of them to be true, true, and false, true. Just kind of check all four options. So you can make copy and paste of all four and see where do you get what, right? So check all options. I have only done true, false. You take this code, and of course, let's see how this works. So one is true and one is false. Oops, forgot my end of line again. End of line means I forgot my double quotes. Okay, oh, we'll have to give this extra input every time now, but that's okay. You can enroll in the advanced Python programming course. Why? Because one was true and one was false. That's how OR works. Right? Try the other way. So kind of copy and paste. So I'll say check all conditions. When I say check all conditions, all I mean is 1, 2, and 3. And what I'll do is check all conditions means I'm going to take this to be true and true. That's my part 1, right? This I'll take to be false and false. So we already have a false and false. And this I'll take to be opposite, false and true. Those are the only 4 possibilities. So basically we are checking true, 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 false, false, true, and false, false. And you will know what will say. So the only time you will get you cannot enroll will be this one, where both of them are false. Otherwise, you're fine, right? Because one of the conditions is true. So both true will also give you a true. Keep that in mind. One of them will also give you a true. Only when all conditions are false, true becomes false. If you want to remember it that way. So and can be remembered. It is true if all conditions are true. Or can be remembered. It will be false if all conditions are false. That's another way of remembering it. If you want to kind of keep it in your head. And if it's not so easy for you to remember. So you can say, you can add this, compound condition is false. If all simple conditions right, and in the and, I think I've already said that the compound condition involving and is true, and I'll just say all in capital. You can remember it this way. That's the easiest way to remember it. So and is true if everything is true, and in or it is false if everything is false. Right? So whatever way you can remember it, it's just there are ands and ors. Like in English. Like in English. Let's save this, let's run it. So I can go with a little easy, let the access be denied. So please notice, you can enroll, and you need a credit in one of the courses, Intro to Java or Intro to Java, or you can enroll. See, makes sense? So the only condition where it said you couldn't enroll was false and false. When one of them was true, it worked. When both of them were true, it worked. Okay, clear? Are we good? Okay. Let me know so that if there is something that is unclear, it's better to get it clarified right at go one. Let's look at the not operator. Oops. The not operator is actually the easiest. It only works with one operand. Notice how and or at least need two operands. You have to work with two, condition one, condition two. There could be more, 3, 4, 5, 6, and whatever. And you can say and or, and we will look at that. But they at least need two conditions. Or not works. It's a Boolean operator which only works with one condition. It's a unary operator. Unary means works with one. So I'll take a simple example first and show you how it works. And then I'll show you a better way of using it. Not a better way, a different way. Let's take a variable flag, give it the value true. Let's print the message. We'll do a plus, we'll do a string, and we'll do a flag. So the value of flag is, why did I do a string flag? Because flag is a Boolean operator. I wanted to show its value. I don't put it in quotes. To show the value of a variable, you put it without quotes. And I had to convert it into a string because it was a Boolean variable, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another flag. I'm going to call it flag, or you can say flag inverse if you like, just so that you know what it is. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to do the not operator with flag. And I'm going to show you what's the value in the flag. So it needs one operand whose value it negates. So basically true becomes a false and false becomes a true. That's what happens. That's all it does. I hope you understand absentees, okay? I'm just going short form for absentees. That's not how it works in Python. In Python, you have to give true and false, but these are just comments. So I'm okay here. Let's see what happens. What are you expecting? You're expecting it to say true and false. So let's go AA and AA, just because it's simple. The value of flag is true, and I'll have to change the message. I'll have to say the value of flag inverse is false. Okay, so the message is incorrectly done. That way, now I know that the message is correct. Sometimes messages don't make sense because copy and paste, and we didn't do a lot, right? Another use of not operator that I would like you to kind of see. Right. So again, the same way like we did is equal to true. There is another way you can do it, and it kind of looks, it's better. So I'm going to take a variable called raining. I don't know why I'm into raining these days, but anyway, I'm going to take a variable called raining. And if you want to say something like this, if raining is false, oops, if you forget your colons, and of course, if you make spelling mistakes, let's print. You don't need an umbrella. You can walk to school. And of course, again, else is not a necessary part at all, but is highly recommended. Okay? So what am I saying? I'm saying if raining is equal to false, kind of odd, but that's okay. Oops. And I forgot. This will give me an error. Can you tell me what kind of error will I get logically thinking about it? I'm trying to give a false which is not a Boolean constant. So if it is not a Boolean constant, what is it? It's not a string. It's not in quotes. It's just a variable. It's just a variable and there is no false variable in my code. So it will come up with an error. Let me show you what the error is so that you see it. And the error will, oh God, that's not the error I wanted. But anyway. So it will go on till where it can. And then look at the error. It says the name false is not defined. Make sense? So it's a name error. It's not a string. If it would have been a string, I would have put it in quotes. What I want to do is give it a Boolean value. So you can't forget the false. So color coding helps, right? Now, if you were doing this in Notepad or TextPad, you wouldn't even pay attention. But because you're using IDE, you're using a development environment, it also color codes for you. So it kind of tells you, oh, you've missed something. Okay, so let's try that again. Do an F5. So raining is true. Now what? Raining gets false. Raining is false. Okay, must have done something. Let's do an F5. Okay, so AA, there it is. You can walk to school because raining was true. Sorry, raining was false. So you can walk to school, it says. Because it's not raining, you can walk to school. Now, I would just like to show you that this can be written in another way using the not operator. The aim is that it makes more sense. Instead of saying if raining, what can I say? If I can say if not raining. So another use of not for clarity. It's more clear to read that, right? It's for clarity. That's what it is. There's nothing wrong in saying if raining is equal to false, but it's kind of odd to read. So for clarity issues, does not this make more sense? If not raining, like you would say in your everyday life, if not raining, right? So that's another use. Let's try it again. And we should have the same option. So let's go with AA and AA. And there it is. You can walk to school. You can walk to school. Because the value was false. Make it true and of course it will change. I started with raining equal to false. You make it true and it will change. Right? So, I mean, there's nothing that stops you from making it. Instead of making it false, you can make it true. And I'll put this in here. And now the opposite will happen. You will need a ride to school. You will need a ride to school. So the two outputs are coming. Again, the two outputs are not duplicating. The two outputs are coming because I have two if statements. That's another use of not, right? So not negates a condition. So true becomes false, false becomes true. But now we will see combinations. I can put not only as if not raining, not only with a single variable, I can put not with a compound condition. I can put not in front of it of a compound condition, and the compound condition becomes from true to false and from false to true. Okay. So here are the three operators with kind of compound conditions. As I said, with not, I cannot give you a compound conditions because not only works with a single operand. Okay. So we'll take a break here before I start. There are 5 minutes still to go, but doesn't make sense to start something. I'll put this on Blackboard for you so that if you've missed something in your first hour of the class, then you can take it from Blackboard and then continue working on it. So we'll come back and then we'll do the combinations now when you have and, ors, nots all together. So it's going on Blackboard and then I'll replace it afterwards. So here is an example where they're taking one by one. They're making me sign in with a username and now they're asking the password. So here is an example where the two things are asked differently. So Python programming, and I don't know if you're aware of it. Your programs are going under weekly learning. You are the Wednesday section. And all I'm doing is I'm saying week 1, week 2, and so on. So I just will add another week 3, which is incomplete for now, but we will complete it. And I attach the file that I do in class. That way you have your code always. So, and that's where it helps me. Oh, and I'll run this for you on the command line. I want to show you that it runs on the command line. So Python, Wednesday, and compound decisions. Okay, so how to run it on the command line? Go to your command prompt. We are already in the right directory, right? I'm already in my Wednesday directory. So what do you need to do? You want to say Python, or you know what? Let's take the previous one. I know it's called program. I know it's called program 3 or something. It was called program 3. I'll do a tab, right? And it should exactly run as it was running. So it says, please enter the username. I'll go A Chawla this time. I'll go Anju this time. Access is denied, and the rest works. It still works. You still see the output, right? So use idle if you like, use this if you like, but you should know how to use it. So that will be a requirement. Okay. Okay, you can take a break here. This program is on Blackboard. We'll take a 20-minute break and then come back and go from there. Last 2 weeks?
I noticed that there was an in-class assignment.
Yes.
So, is it related to something?
Of course it is. In-class assignment means you're in class, you do it any time. Okay, and it says very clearly on this syllabus, right? And I did point it out when I saw you guys would be frustrated. That's how. Unless there was an emergency and you told me beforehand, which also it says in the syllabus, then I can compensate. But otherwise,
But actually my son was sick last week.
so if I knew and you could email me and I need a doctor's note or something, I'll allow you to do it. But if you don't tell me and you don't turn up, then there's nothing I can do. 5%. Okay? Just for in future so that you know. Okay, if things are, there's something urgent, just email me. And then we'll see how it goes from there.
This is way better. Oh, yeah, that's just the other. You can do that in C++. Yeah, this will be. Means even Notepad++ gives you colors. It's barely better than Notepad. My computer sound hot. Oh. You ever programmed before?
I could be the music fast.
Yeah, that's bigger.
This is wonderful.
I figured you've done a thing or two.
What kind of program you do?
We worked on Java. So I mean, we also did C++. I did a little bit of C# for a while on my own. It's like object oriented, like software. Oh, Python. No, Python is actually it's quite often used by network engineers. Use it kind of like as a restricting control. So use it for code execution or multiple execution systems at once. Then create certain modes of network. Yeah. We didn't have to take this. Instead, we have to learn PowerShell.
Actually, I think most of them use Perl.
Yeah, Perl is not used as often now.
I think
Python's used a lot more often. A couple of friends that do have the network engineers, they use Python. And let me tell you, they're like terrible Python code. Because in case of them, like, you don't follow any best practices at all. Because they're all self-taught. A lot of them from their engineers go in, realize they have to automate things, but they're not programmers, don't know best practices. And it's very terrible code, but it works. If you can write awful code that functions. Oh, yeah, no, it's good practice.
Sam focus is all right. Then,
Yeah. I know, but I actually am terrible at British stuff. That's like what I'm afraid of. What do you think of that? Just how many do I know? I mean, there's, wait. Allows easy access. So they're trying to trick you. I mean, the principle are contains. And so, yeah, okay, principle are key. Yes. No, actually, because of the wording, you have to be so careful, because, yeah, principle is definitely what contains it. No, it doesn't matter. We're just talking about that, because it's not very easy. So, like, this is bring lever street solution. So, a lot of times, it can be lasers don't have print nozzles. It's not going to be calibration or print driver. It could be the damage to the but he only gets up. Okay, so there's like it's like PCL and LP2. No, it's not a PCL and PostScript. Yeah, so it's PCL and PostScript. That's usually the device driver. Yeah, if it's not custom characters, that means that it's not rasterized properly.
Internet.
So, device sharing over wire connection. So this is what you get exchange. So if you remember, it's a Wi-Fi, but because it's a specifically wired, you have your USB parallel. Ethernet is just yeah. But now here's the thing that I see. I don't remember yet. But the old school printer cables are serial. What do they do? I think it's a serial cable though. So I just don't know parallel. So I think it would USB to serial. You think it's parallel? Okay. Yeah, they have the email. Okay. So if I'm there. It's called the principal. I think it's the license. I don't know. I guess I run through that. So like a ribbon like dot matrix. Dot matrix, I think it is. Dot matrix is the one that like moves back and forth and uses pins against their ribbon. Yeah, so I think it's easy bit of dot matrix. Because inkjet does it, laser does it, and thermal does it. So you can see the these are. Yeah. So it'd be like, there'd be a clean brush, mechanical compressed air, and a toner bag. Just those two. Well, there's like PDF, XPS, I think PDF and XPS. Yeah, yeah, so when you, running PDF. That is. Yeah, so here, you open up already from, actually, just look at this page. I'm gonna print this page. So you got it for that. Don't test it. Looking for this pixels per inch or dots per inch. Yeah, that's what you want. Well, pixels per inch is normally for if you're working with a file and like a building like what you got. And I realize, oh, look at that CI reference. So there's a workshop. LPR. I think it's that one. And I think IPP, because that is Internet Trading Protocol. Okay, so it would be, it has to be the first one, because that's the one that has the first place of the name to that again. So if you know nothing else, we're going to I feel like charging has that out. Because, yeah, whatever. So that's the one we're gonna have to that for that's still a tractor. It's a GDI. Matrix and oh, there's maintenance kit. Yeah. Yeah, it is wireless. Does that record items? Yeah. That's the one. Whatever. You don't have it. Just want to get this done. Well, that's okay, so like I think it's TV25 here. And it wouldn't be those two. I know it's not those two. 1395 is Firewire, so it's not going to be Firewire. So it's, I guess those two. I don't know what that other one is. I could be wrong. I think it's device centers. But I haven't used this for a while. All because it's impact. That's it. Well, then again, other vehicles. I don't know. Well, that's the computer. Impact. Impact and documentation. No. Because what it's referring to is multiform. So you know those pieces of carbon paper? We have like a layer, multiple layers of pieces, like white one on top, and yellow one underneath that, and the pink one. Yeah, the only way you can do that, I can't make it easy. But the only way that works, so that is an impact here, is it has, and it applies first. Yeah. Oh, that's verbal. Yeah, that's like just, so it doesn't require any cartridge or anything, it just eats paper. They don't use an impact here. This goes to measures. Because all the other things I was using it exposing is part of printing like pages. See, the kind of thing is like ghost images. Like, if it's big, that means let's just say this, where those images on previous jobs. I don't know. I'm just with a topic. That's that, oh no. Yeah, see, I was nervous about the first one. Yeah, it's Windows task, right? Because that's something up a little bit, because it's easy access. But I think the part is in the groups. That is imaging posters. Apparently, it's just but look, these are the nominations. Yes. I don't know, I was feeling good at nice little ones. Well, yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't have known sometimes. I really knew the other ones weren't. Yeah, so it was false. Oh. That's not. It's not working. Okay. Yeah. And then also, yeah, I should. Is that the number you follow it? Because you can have supposed to be. Large percentage secure 3. It's just give us an 86% chance. Now, supposedly on exam compass, these tests are actually a little bit more difficult than the actual exams. Yeah, when I was reading up on it, apparently people were getting discouraged by reading this. It's a lot more thorough. Like you wouldn't normally have to know that much. Yeah, well, you have a much better chance. Nothing's guaranteed, but yeah. Oh man, think about it, 7%. Or you have these. Yeah, I was exposed to I mean, the other guy who covers up his camera with a piece of tape on his So obviously, yeah, so obviously you have some awareness. Yeah, you could probably do pretty well. Even if you study for a couple of weeks, these 5 weeks, like 3 weeks, watch the videos on our index, and it's probably gonna be good. You'll probably go past it. It's just a hammer 2 weeks, Linda, and then get your certificate. Well, I already signed that. You can do it because if you get your A plus, your network plus and security plus, that's typically what they're looking for, and they're looking at level 2 tests instead of level 1 tests. Typically, what's your security plus. So if you want to try to avoid getting a level 1 tech help this position and try to improve, then getting those certificates are good. And they also have a lot of cross material with your CCNA, right? Especially once you hit network plus and security. So it acts like a good training process for test taking and reinforcement of knowledge. That's what I'm doing. I want to have my A plus, network plus, security plus, and at least a CCNT before I'm done. Yeah. So that way, when I apply to a job that can apply, I see if I get a job. That's the mission. Yeah. So you get, that's how you get a free and get a check. Yeah. So what are they doing? They just get assigned that. Takes like 2 seconds, but you're not going to do it right now. You're not going to remember. Just send it right now. You have to make like a new account with the high speed recording. And then Tom, go to sign in. Go sign in with the organizational portal. I'm from Georgian College, that's the way. Next, sign the regular account. Already know. Or just take the time. Cause the aggravation. Design skills. You're on first. Yes, I'm going to like this. Video, 25 hours of video. But when I'm through it, I'm ready to go.
Okay, let's continue with kind of combining conditions, right? So basically you've seen a simple and, or, and not, and hopefully you understand it. It's not so tough, but if you need a refreshing, just go through the video and look at the program again, try to make changes, and you should be good. Now, can we combine? I mean, there are 3 different operators, but that doesn't mean we cannot combine them, right? Can we combine not and nots? And the answer is yes. right? A compound condition may not only have an AND or not only have an OR name and so on. So what I'm going to do is I'm again going to use these two SEM 1 courses that I had. Uh-oh. Seems like I have a... Sometimes indentation does not kind of, because it doesn't matter, it works, but you have to be careful about it. I'm going to take these two SEM 1 courses. I see the spelling of my courses is wrong everywhere because it's a copy and a paste, right? I don't know what I called it. Courses? Oh, I've done the changes myself now. Oh, there it is, courses. Okay, so let's combine now. So I have those two variables. I'll keep those variables. And I'm going to take another variable called program name or something and give it a value of computer studies. So a text variable, a string variable called computer studies, and I'll keep the two SEM 1 courses and SEM 2 courses, right? And I'll show you how it works. Like how does it work in the sense of putting compound conditions using and not. So let's try. Keep in mind, and takes precedence over or. That's the general rule. Okay, that's the general rule. That's the rule. So what I can do is I can do something like, say, I can say if SEM 1 course 1 is true or SEM course 2 is true, and your program name is equal to computer studies. Now this seems to be very silly one because everything is true. So, I mean, what are we even checking? You know what I mean? Like, but I have to show you a little different thing to say what happens. So I'm going to say print, and let's do something like, so what am I saying here? I'm saying you must be enrolled in the computer studies program, have either of intro to Java or intro to this level to enroll in the Python course. That's what I'm trying to say. Right? Again, I could have done individual and nested ifs, but that's not the aim today. We are not learning how to do nested ifs and so on. We are learning how to make compound conditions today. So what did I do? I did an or and I did an and. It's allowed. There's nothing wrong in this statement at all. You can combine conditions. You can join conditions by using ors and ands, and not actually only negates it. So what is the expectation here? Really will I mean, this one will say you can enroll, you can successfully enroll. Because everything is kind of true, I'm assuming. So what am I saying? I'm saying, this is what I'm saying. If the program name is computer studies, that's how it works, okay? For your information, and I'll prove it to you. If the program name is computer studies and either of this is true, which it is, you should say it, you should have, you can enroll in the advanced program. That's how it works. So program name has to be computer studies, and the other condition of the or says either one of them will work. So this one will work, but then of course my aim is to show you what doesn't work so that you can see that what I'm saying is right. I'll kind of say you cannot enroll. I'll do a cannot enroll. There, right? Let's save this. So this seems as if, you know, what is she trying to even do? Everything is true. SEM course 1 is true. SEM course 2 is true. The program name is computer studies. So what's the big deal? Like, what is she trying to prove? The answer should be that you can enroll in the advanced course. And rightfully so, you are right. It should, if I haven't made any errors. Invalid syntax. 2 equals to the colon at the end of my if statement. Thank you. 2 errors. Equality was wrong. Colon was missing. So when you see errors, please see that you, of course, rectify them. So I'll give an AA and an AA. My aim is to you can enroll. We will only concentrate on the last ones now. After the right to school, till right to school we've already done, right? So you can enroll in the Python course and it's fine. I should be able to. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the same condition. I'm going to take the same condition and I'm going to do something wrong. So I'm going to like take a wrong program name, incorrect program name. And that will prove to you that what I'm saying is right. So if I take an incorrect program name just for the heck of it, I'll just remove the S out of it. Or you can even put something like, and program name is nursing. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? So you can take a program name which is incorrect. So now you'll say, but the condition is true. So if you were reading it like this, like normal reading it, SEM course 1 is true, yes. Or SEM course 2 is true, yes, I have a true. But this is how it will work. Since the program name is wrong, the ORs don't even play a part because the AND will result in a false. Try it. Right. You should not be able to enroll in the Python course. Uh-oh. What happened? How can you enroll? How can you enroll? Program name nursing is false. I'm almost positive, but let's double check. So Boolean, operators, precedence, Python. Variety of not and or in Python. So according to the documentation, it is, oh, is it the opposite? Are they going top to bottom? Operator precision. The following table summarizes the operator precision from lowest to highest. Okay. So not has the highest, then and then or. If that's the case, then why is this working, right? Because this is a false. If this condition is a false, something is not right. But what is not right?
Wait, could you go back to the,
Oh God, this is what is happening. No, even then is fine. So to the table that we just saw?
No, to the output that it gave us. Just want to see it again.
The output?
Because it says you can.
Yeah, it's saying you can enroll. It should say you cannot enroll, right? Because this is what happens. Something is wrong, but what is wrong? Let's see. This will happen first. See, the AND happens first. This should happen first. Now, if this happens first, program name is not nursing. It's false and true should give you a false. Oh, I get it. Oops. Okay, it's right. Think about it. This is giving you a false, right?
Yeah.
But then you are doing an or with a true. Ah, it's working. It is. It's right. So now to show you that, so what I should do is I should make SEM course 1 as, I should make SEM course 1 as false. Yeah, it's right. It was working. It's fine. That was my mistake. Again, sorry, but I was right. And happens first. So this happens, and the answer is false for this, right? Program name is nursing. SEM course 2. I mean, I could have made that false and I could have still done. But this condition and is doing what? Is doing a false. But when false is combined with an or with course 1, which was true, the answer will be true. Right? Now let's see again. So the and happens first. This is a false. So even if you leave it at computer studies, will be, I mean, so I've just changed the incorrect program name. I've said that this program name is incorrect, but my SEM course 2 was true and false. So this is a false. Now this condition is false, but when you take a false with the true, the answer is true. Right? So the answer is true. So what did I do? Now I kind of change it. So if you want, we can take this. We'll leave this one and we'll again kind of copy and paste this one. And I'll kind of say and. I'll put an and here. And I'll put that condition here. Oh God, it was SEM course 1. So I'm going to take and I'm going to say that my SEM course 1, SEM 1 course 1 is a false. You could have still kept this at computer studies and it would have still be the same thing. I'll show you the third thing. I'll keep it at computer studies and show you that the or doesn't work first, the and works. Now this should give you a false. Okay, so AA and AA. There it is. Cannot. Now why are we getting 2 cannot enrolls? Did I do it twice? There is 1 here.
And then 1 below it. So it's everywhere under SEM 1 course.
Oh, okay. I repeated it twice. Okay. I didn't want to do it. Copy and paste became twice. Here, there it is. So now see what is happening. This condition is false. This condition is false, and false is being ORed with false. Will give you a false. So you have to just remember, and or is how it goes. If you want to change the precedence, you want to do or first, then what do? You can change precedence. Nothing stops you. Let's change the precedence. Right? Though, like, I'll do the or first now. What will I do? I'll kind of put this in brackets. So I say I want to do an or first. So 1 is false and I don't know what SEM 2 course 2 is. I'm assuming it is true, but you never know. So to be on the safe side, I'll just make my SEM 2 as true. Instead of going back and seeing, oh, what were you? You already know that the other one is false. And now I'll bring this back to computer studies. What will happen now? Now this will happen first. So if both of them, so the answer of this is a true and a true or a false will give you true. And then the and will again give you true. So and true will give you true. So you should be able to enroll. And then I'll show you the last one. So you should be able to enroll. So you should be able to enroll. right? So you can change precedences if you want. Nothing stops you. Absolutely nothing stops you. And now if I make a mistake, I'm changing the precedence also. And of course, you know how AND works. And for the heck of it, I'm going to bring it back to nursing. I'm changing the precedence and I'm also changing the name. Of course, this will give you a false, right? Because and one of the conditions is false here. So definitely it is a false. It doesn't even matter what is the first one. But the precedence is still changed. It is being true and false. So you can, it will say cannot enroll. Right? So the only thing is what I'm trying to show you, and it's not restricted to one and one or. You could have 10 ors and 3 ands. Now you say, then what happens? You've told me ands and ors take and is over or, but what if there are more than one ors? Then you just go left to right. Right? So if there are more than one ors, you just go left to right. That's what happens. Similarly with ands, you go left to right. So if you have something and something and something, you just go left to right. So there is no restriction that there can be only a or a and. There can be any numbers of ors, any number of ands. Ands take precedence over or, but if you have more than one ands, you just go from left to right. And I'll double check that, but I think I'm correct. But who knows? Things can be different. So there are some footnotes at the bottom here. Operators in the same group go left to right. In the same group, but operators in the same box have the same precedence. So I mean, the and is the only one in the same group, so it goes left to right, right? So if you have this and this and this or this or this or whatever, you have more than one ands and ors, go left to right. But all ands first, all ors afterwards. Okay. Now let's look at the not, which is not very useful, but whatever it is. So now you can put nots with a few things. So I'm going to show you nots now. So just because of it's so confusing as to how I'm going to take my SEM course 1 and SEM course 2 by myself here. Let's call SEM course 1 intro. Now you have a few options and you should understand how they work. I could be just writing a not in front of something. I'll kind of come back to my normal. You can just put a not here. And with whom will this not work? This not will work with just SEM course 1. Not is only doing the not of SEM course 1. So SEM course 1 becomes a false. Right? That becomes a false. And what I'll do is I'll make this is, so what is the result of this? False. Because nursing is wrong, right? So that's a false. And false, when done an or with a false, should give you a false. So I must have a false. Okay, so let's try that. So you can again do the printing. And we must have a false. There, you cannot enroll. Okay, you can put not anywhere, like with a single variable. I just put it here. And now I can do it here too. So let's do this. Let's take it again. And nobody stops you. You can have more than one nots. I don't know what to say. I'll just say another one. Another not. I'll put a not here. So now let's look at what happens. Not program name is equal to nursing becomes true. So nursing was false, not of it becomes true. True with a true becomes a true. And it really doesn't matter what SEM course 1 is, because true with anything is a true. You should see you can enroll in the Python advanced course. Make sense? So nots can be used as many number of times. I'm again emphasizing ands can be used any number of times. Ors can be used any number of times. The concept does not change. Okay, let's try that. So I'm expecting you can enroll. There it is, you can enroll. Just look at the last one. We are changing one by one. So just look at the last one. That's all you have to do. So you can do knots wherever you like. Or nobody stops you to do this. You could have taken you can take another not for an expression. So not with an expression. That was with a variable, right? The one that you see was only with a variable. It was only working on this. What you can do is this. Here, you can even do this. So I took the condition and I did a not of it. So what is it? True or true gives a true. Not of it will give a false. False with and, though this is a true, will still give you a false. So it can be done. So you can put a not in front of an expression also. All you have to do is parenthesize the expression. So not can be used with single variables. Not can be used with expressions. So try that now. So what are we expecting? Cannot enroll. There it is. Cannot enroll. Got it? Have you got the picture at least? Right? Of course, it will come when you start writing code or whatever. Then you'll have. Sometimes you have to think too. It's not a big deal. And you can change your mind. You can say, I want to do this first. It's always a good idea. This is what I want to do first. This is what I want to do the second. And this is what I want to do at the end. And that way you can put your parentheses. But I must caution you that if you need the general level of precedence that is automatically working, don't put brackets. It's more confusing to put brackets when the precedence automatically is what you want. So maybe in your head you can say, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. Good, you can write it down. In the beginnings, programmers do write down things. Right? As you become experienced, you think you can do everything on the computer, but everything was done on paper first. You drew a flow chart first. A flow chart showed, well, this was the input, this was the output, these are decision-making statements. And what are flow charts? Please take some time to read about flow charts in your chapter 2 in your ebook, right? Please do. Questions can be asked on flow charts. It's just a flow chart with symbols. You have decision-making symbols, you have sequence and so on. So I leave it to you to do flow charts. Do them. They're just diagrams. And they're in chapter 2, if I'm not mistaken, in your automate the boring stuff. I'll put it on Blackboard so that you do it. So there, I think that's good enough for this program, right? Because there is no end. I could keep showing it to you. But if you've got the idea, that's what the aim was. Combinations and so on and so forth. Okay. So having said that, I'll put this back on Blackboard for you guys so that you have the most recent one. And we will start working on, so it's Wednesday today and it's 3. Oops. Okay, so there it is. Now, my next aim. I don't have much time, but whatever time I have, I would like to. Are there any questions before I go on? Anything that's not clear in your mind? Anything extra you would like to see? Like then I just have to think of more conditions, right? If I say, oh, I want to put 2 ands or 2 ors and so on, you just have to do something. So you could say program name is equal to Scopa or program name is equal to CSTN. And then you could have or, it will just say how it works. The or will just how it works. Combinations just come when you use them. Okay? So that's about if, nested ifs, elifs, which we don't use a lot, but I would recommend that elif is available, so do use it. And about conditions, simple or compound. So now when I do conditions in my while or whatever, I'll assume that you know about conditions. You should know how to work with conditions. Okay, so let's go to our next program. We want to learn about iteration now, or looping, our third pillar of programming. You will say, oh, we are already at the last pillar of our programming. Yes, you are. So this is basically code a Python program to we will work with while today. Right? So there are two ways in which you can, so they're looping. So remember, three pillars of programming: sequence, how you write your code will work in sequence; decision-making statement, of which you've seen if. Other languages can have switch also. Switch is not available in Python, so there's another way. Python is an old language, so I think it didn't have everything when it started, but of course, when object-oriented programming became the norm, they kind of plopped it onto Python. So Python is object-oriented. And we will talk about object-oriented in the last week maybe, but you are just kind of learning the procedure, plain Python written in sequence. That's what you are learning, right? Classes and objects are a little more tougher to understand, and therefore you have to have some background about programming before you can kind of convert it. And it's just a different way of packaging. As I said, in procedural programming, maybe you are putting your gift into a wrapping paper, you're wrapping it. And in object-oriented programming, the logic doesn't change, the pillars of programming doesn't change, nothing changes. But the packaging changes. Maybe you're now putting it in a bag, right? So it's a different way of, it's a different paradigm. Programming has four paradigms. You can do procedural programming, which you're doing right now, right? Procedure, you're saying, this is what I want to do. You're writing your steps. Then you can do object-oriented programming, in which you just package, you kind of create classes in them. The class defines an entity. Then you can do functional programming. Functional programming is basically writing your code in functions. It's very mathematical. Everything is written as a function. And the last is logic programming, right? And the logic programming, the name is logic programming. It's just a different way, again, of writing your code. And that's what it is. So these are the four paradigms of programming, of which right now, though Python supports object-oriented programming too, but we are doing the procedural part of the language. We are trying to learn the language and the rules of any programming language before we kind of get into object-oriented programming. It needs a little more getting around. Little, not much, but little. Okay, having said that, so now let's look at the third pillar of programming. So we've done sequencing. You're writing a program in sequence. We've done decision-making statement, which is the if, can have an else, may not have an else, should usually have an else, but it's a single statement. If this, do this, else do this. Done. It only works once. You can't say, oh, do it again, or check again, or check again. You can. But now, in our daily life, we do things repeatedly, right? You attend classes repeatedly, you come to college repeatedly, you eat repeatedly, so you do jobs repeatedly. So definitely, if we do in our daily life jobs repeatedly, we need something in the programming world because we want to automate our lives, right? Think of a car assembly. What happens? It's kind of an assembly. Assemble, 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 done. Assemble, assemble. So it's the repetition job. If humans were doing it, it would take more time definitely. But if now the procedure is automated, then it's much easier. Okay. So now let's learn the third pillar of programming. In any programming language, those are the only three pillars. The rest is all about here. How do I write it? What's the logic? How do I do it? Okay. So the third pillar of programming is the iterative or the loops. And these allow you, or this allows you to do a job repeatedly, more than once. And there are two ways in which you can do it in Python. You have the for statement and you have the while statement. They do the same job, but one is sometimes more suited to other. Why? Because for does something a number of times, 10 times, 20 times, 5 times, and so on. So you can say, start from here, end here. That's what you can say. So when you're sure this is my beginning and this is my end, you use a for loop, right? Though they're interchangeable. I can write the same code in for and I can write the same code in while. While, on the other hand, works on conditions. So if you say while the condition is true, keep on doing it, right? Or you, so while the condition is true, it will execute the while block, it is called, or the while body it is called, or the while clause it is called in Python. And this is how you write it. So let's look at a while loop, look at its syntax, see how it works, and then do a couple of examples if you want. Okay? And the conditions will remain the same. You could have a simple condition, you could have a compound condition. They work the same way. You could have and, ors, and nots. They work the same way. Everything works the same way. So I'm going to write a very, very simple loop, which you will never ever write in your life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say while. So the reserved word is while without two i's. And I'm going to say true. I'm saying while the condition is true. Is always true. True is always true, right? And I'm going to say print. And I know that it will do it forever. It will do it forever. So how does the while loop work? The while loop says while the condition is true. So the while loop says while clause or body is executed. I think they use the word clause in Python. While the condition is true. It exits the loop when the condition becomes false. Notice in my comments, I don't write I don't write false and true in caps just because these are comments. Okay, so the while body is executed. This is called the while body. Whatever is under while, it could be one statement, it could be 2, 3, it doesn't matter. Again, the same indentation rule. You write your while statement, and then you put your colon, and anything that's under while altogether indented at the same place becomes the body of while. When you want to go back, you come back, right? So suppose if I wanted to print something here, not as a part of while, but just outside here, unfortunately, you will never see this message. The goodbye message will never be seen. Why? Look at the while loop. It says while true. Condition is true. Does it ever become false? No, because true is true and it will run forever. So that's what I said. This is a loop which you will never write in your life. So let's put it in program 4. Because I mean, it will continue into your 4th week. And let's try it. We'll never see the goodbye. That's forever. It is running. Though if you can see, it is running. So now how do I break? There are a few things. You can restart your shell, or the simple way is Control-C and it will break. You've done an interrupt. Control-C will interrupt it. Very old form of DOS to stop a program. So as I said, but that's while, right? Can you make other mistakes? So let's do something like this. Definitely this will not work. So I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to format and comment. I'm going to comment it out, right? You could be making silly mistakes like this, very common. We are programmers, just human beings. I take a variable called times. I give it a value 1, right? And then I say while times is not equal to 10. Oops, sorry, 10. Print times. Oh, I'll have to say string of times, because times is a Boolean variable. So my aim was to print the first 10 numbers. So with first 10 numbers, I should go 11. So I'm trying to print the first 10 numbers. but I've made a mistake. Okay, so what happens? Times is assigned the value 1, and while it is not equal to 11, you could have put the same condition like this also. You could have said while times is less than or equal to 10, you could have written it like this also. So while it is less than or equal to 10, keep doing it. Right? You can do it this way also. Or you can say while times is not, what else can you say? Not equal to 11, less than or equal to 10, or while times is, that's the only two I can think of. Okay, so this is how it works. Times is given a value 1. Look at the condition. The condition says while times is not 11, print it. And you are thinking, oh, it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It won't. Why? Because times always remains 1. So this is an infinite loop too. And all it will print is 1. That's all it will print. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Times never changed. You made a mistake. You forgot something. So let's see what you forgot. You forgot to increment the I. You wanted to write the first 10 numbers, but you forgot to do a job. Right? So again, I'll kind of take this and I'll kind of comment it out. And now I'll try to do the right job. What is the right way of doing it? You start with times is equal to 1. You can, if you let's say, write either of these. And then don't forget to increment times up by 1. And notice how I've put them both in the same column. So these two statements together make the while body or the while clause. Now, sometimes students will make this mistake. Not a big deal at all. Print the first 10 numbers, or so you're saying, oh, print till times becomes 10. But this is an off by 1 error. Because you're saying when it is not equal to 10, keep on doing it. As soon as it becomes 10, stop. So it won't print the 10th number, right? So try it. So you will see that it will print only till 9. This is called an off by 1 error because you forgot, because your condition said not equal to 10. So this is how it works. Times becomes 1. It looks at the condition. Is the condition true? Yes, it is true. Goes inside the while loop. Does what it tell you to do. Does exactly what you tell it to do. And loops back on its own. You don't have to say go back. It will go back. It will keep looping. It will check the condition again. So times now becomes 2. Is it equal to 10? No. Goes in. So while the condition is true, it will automatically loop. It will automatically loop. When you say automatically loop, it goes back to the beginning of the statement. That's what it is, automatically. And please be careful of off by 1 errors. They are called off by 1. You've missed a number. They're called off by 1. It's very common in loops. It only printed till 9, whereas I wanted to print it till 10. So is not equal to 11 a better way of writing it, or is less than or equal to 10? It's a personal preference. I usually go with less than or equal to 10 because we will usually, that's what I want. Keep printing till it is less than or equal to 10. That's how I would say it, right? So that's how I would use it. And it will work. It will work. Just to show you that it works, what I'm going to do is, I'll just write it like this. So I've shown one with the 11, though of course it was an infinite loop, but less than equal to 10. So here you can make a note. Don't forget your equal sign. else 10 won't be printed. That's what an off by 1 error is. Just so that you know. Small mistake, but you know what? Answer is incorrect. And it should work now. It should work as you are expecting it to work. There it is. So beware of infinite loops. Something commonly happens when you start programming for the first time. Beware of off by 1 errors. Again, you kind of don't think about it. The relation operators that you use, I leave it to you, whatever makes more sense. To me personally, I try to use how we speak it. So print all numbers less than or equal to 10. Does it mean you always have to start from 1 and go until 10? No. I could have done anything I wanted. I could have said print from -5 to 5. So if you wanted to print -5 to 5, it's no big deal at all. So you can print -5 to 5. But in this one, the for loop is more kind of useful. So I'm going to take my times variable. I'll start with -5. And it doesn't mean that you always have to go +1. You could go the opposite also. So let's do this. You start with 5 and print -5 to -5 in decreasing order. So what do? I start with 5. I can do a, oh, sorry, I still have to do a -1. So I was doing the right thing. Here I'm doing a +1. Here I'll have to do a -1. Okay, just to show you a different thing. I mean, it's not saying you always have to increment it. You know what I mean? Like, it really depends on what you do. Though a for loop would be better for this. So you want to print till -5. But in this case, what will you do? You will subtract minus from the times. So it doesn't mean every time you have to do a plus. You could be doing twice. You want to show multiples of 2. So you could show 2, 4, 6, 8. So in there you increment by 2. Your aim is that the condition is true, the body is executed. The condition is false, it is exited. Okay, though there are more ways of doing it, but that's what it is. So let's see if this works. So I'm saying while it is less than or equal to -5. So it will start with 5, then will become 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Let's try it. And let's try it. Do I have an error? Oh, no, I don't have an error. What happened? Times gets the value 5 while times is less than or equal to, oh, there is a problem. Condition is false. Condition is false. Is 5 less than or equal to -5? No. Condition is false. It won't even happen. It didn't work because my condition is false to begin with. So if I wanted to print 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and so on, what would I do using a while? Think about it. If not, of course, there is a for. But think about it. I want to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Condition is wrong. There. So the condition was wrong. So it's greater than or equal to -5. So I made a mistake. It was a very silly mistake, but it is a mistake. So nothing happened. Right? So if the condition is false, it will not even enter the loop. Keep in mind, it won't even enter the loop. So less than 5 condition was wrong. And rightfully so. It was wrong. And there it is now. This is where it started. This is your loop. So if the condition is false, it won't even enter the loop. So you can make a note for yourself if you like. because I made that. Because I copied and pasted, and without thinking, I just kind of changed the value. Right? So I didn't think. All I was trying to show you was, oh, instead of a plus, you can do a minus. I mean, nothing stops you. You could do anything you like. You could do whatever. But the main thing to be remembered is that you must terminate the loop. Right? There should be some way of terminating the loop. If you don't do it, then you're gone. Right? So this is the while. Let me show you one more example. A student asked yesterday, and just because it was asked, suppose you want to print the times table of a number. You can do much more, right? So basically say 2 ones are 2, 2 twos are 4, 2 3, but anything, right? So let's do it. So from the user, we'll take the number that wants to be printed. So let's do an int. And again, you have to be careful. The times table is basically of a positive number. Okay. So please provide the number for the times table. I'm trying to use single quotes inside double quotes, and I'm hoping I won't get an error, but I don't know. Now, this number can be positive or negative, doesn't matter. You could say 2 into 1, you could say minus 2 into 1. I mean, you can do it of anything. Now, how many terms do you want? We'll do the same thing. Excuse me. Let's see if we get an error, okay? So 2 inputs are taken from the user. Notice how I have both converted them into ints, because that's what you work with. So if the user tries to give a string or a floating point number, this will of course not work. All I want to do is I want to do a printing, right? So I want to take the number, multiply it by terms, how many will start with 1 and so on. So again, I'm going to take my times variable, start with 1, right? And now do a while loop. While the value of times is less than or equal to terms. So it's not necessary that you compare it with a number. You could be comparing two variables. You could have a compound condition, right? Whatever you like. So while the times is less than terms, what do we want to print? We want to print, and you can make it pretty. You can write the number, and remember, since it is a integer, you can take the number. You can write your multiplication sign. You can take your times, do your concatenation, write your equal, do your concatenation, and then show you the answer. Oh, so you can do the answer if you like, though you don't have to do it separately. You could have done it right here, but I'll just take the number and multiply by times. And nothing stops you. You could have done it right here, and I'll show it to you. So you can put your answer here if you like. Okay, am I missing something? I'm missing a plus here, concatenation. I'm missing a plus here, concatenation. It will say number into times is equal to this. Let's see if it works. Okay, please provide the number of the times table. Which number do you want to provide? So let's take the twos table. How come it became? What's happening? Something is not right. Okay, so something is not right. Yeah, it's in an infinite loop. Why? Because I forgot to go times is equal to times plus 1. Things happen, you have to be careful, right? I forgot to do this. Otherwise, times will never become less than terms. So I took the number. Please provide the number for the times table. Please provide the number of terms in the times table. And it didn't give me an error, but I didn't see if it gave me the quotes. Did it give the quotes? I don't know. I didn't notice. And then you start, you give your answer, and you could have taken this answer right here. You could have replaced this answer by this expression right here. You don't have to create another variable. You could take this if you like, and you can put it right here. Here, you can put it right here. You don't even need this variable. You can do your math right in the right in the print statement. Okay, let's try it. Something was not working fine. Hopefully we'll know now. Okay, so 2, number of terms 10, and there it is. 2 ones are 2, 2 twos are 4, so on and so forth. Right, it's shown me the table. But I want to show you something now that you can improve upon. So the messages, it would be nice to see the messages. It would be nice to see the messages with a colon. So whenever you ask, oh, I again didn't see if it had the, oh yeah, it is putting the times table in single quotes. So it is working. I wasn't sure, what am I doing? I wasn't sure if the single quotes would work. Whenever is the case, we'll kind of put a colon here and give a space. Now see what happens if I do this. Okay, so I want to look for 2's table, but I want minus 10 terms. That's really silly. It won't do anything. Why? Because the condition is not true. So the opposite is okay. I can see the 2's table. I mean, though we don't ever work with negative tables, but nothing stops me. So I could do this if I like. I can say minus 2 and give me 10 terms. That works, minus 2 into 1, that's okay. But the number of terms cannot be negative. I mean, it's useless. You're not doing the right thing. So what should you do? What can you do to make it better? Or to ensure that it will work? Come on, you've done it. What should you do? Do a check. Check that the terms is a positive number. That's all you have to do. So check. Do a check here. So if the terms value is less than or equal to 0, that means you provided a negative number. Or an invalid value. You provided an invalid value. Terms cannot be less than or equal to 0. What would you like to do? You would like to give a message to the user. You give a message to the user, else. And now I just have to kind of indent my code because that's what happens. And if I have to indent it, then I have to indent it for everything. Please notice the indentation, right? The if comes with the else. So this else has to come with this else. Now I can kind of bring them a little back just because very quickly I run out of space on my screen. As I said in the beginning, you could even have done one space of indentation. But 4 is just the default and I'm just using it. Now let's see what happens. So here it will say the number of terms in the times table should be greater than 0. Hence, no times table exists. Right? Else it will show the answer. Let's do it. So I'll provide 2, but by number of terms will be minus 10. So the number of terms in the times table should be greater than 0, hence no times table exists. At least it tells me that something is wrong. Plus, you can always show. Remember, I said always show the user what he or she gave me. So the number of terms and show it. Put a plus, show the value of terms, put a plus, and then and hence no times table exists. Why is it showing in red? What have I missed? Somewhere I missed something. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to close the quote here. The number of terms, and then I show the value of the terms. That way the user knows, oh, this is what I gave. I always said, please remember that your output should always show your input, right? So the number of terms provided, you could say, you can kind of put a dash here, and these were, or you can just say colon. You can say in the times table, or just put a comma, and then let's try it again. Let's provide 2 and let's provide minus 10. So now it makes more sense. The number of terms provided, which is minus 10, there's a blank missing. We'll put a blank and it will be fine. So when you look at the output, you know that something is not right. And there it is. Makes it neater. I think I put 2 blanks here. No, there was a blank. And it will look much neater. There? Makes sense? But all it is doing is it is kind of checking it once and then giving you a message and it stops. What would be a better way?
That's another input.
Yeah, keep asking for input. Force the user to give the right input. There's nothing wrong in it, but it's very irritating. You have to run it again and run it again and run it again. Now, since we've learned the while statement, if I can ask the user for input, validate my input. Remember GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Keep in mind. Force the user to give me a right value, then the program is interactive. I can run it as many times as I want, that I know it's a while loop, and then go on, right? Okay, just give me a 5-minute break, guys. I'll be back, okay?
I'm just so familiar. Hello. My tab is sort of like socially emotions last word. honestly, like, the emotions. Look at Mastro. He's like, 3 meals a day. I don't want your shit moves. Why for like one thing that's like refrigeration, you got that Mastro. Kind of the primary.
I'm sure. Like, I do feel like we yeah. That's him. Get up. Yeah. It's really fun. Material.
But I was like,
Yeah, good. I just don't have to right now.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
Ah.
or maybe even more time, depending on how stacked your video is and how. I'm trying to get it right. More rice. You'll never make so like every meal is just like, you know, it's a good meal.
That you're.
That's how we put in general. He's like, oh yeah, meat and vegetables and where it's on like fish.
I consider.
The same meals every day. You would have to eat rice, fish, vegetables, or you just eat rice. Yeah, I was dying. I wouldn't survive off that. You know how much fish and vegetables I have to hit my stomach again? I would die. You would see on the floor just like chaos.
That's one thing I miss from being.
Yeah, you would have been good and fresh. Crab and all. No. When it comes to, like, I just eat calories, my body doesn't. But I'm gonna that. I'm fat. That's the opposite. I'm thinking like, I'm about 3,000 calories. So they get like 3,000 calories of fish and vegetables. I would have to be so. I would be eating like one of these.
I typically eat like eggs
So per 100 grams, is 2 calories per gram. That's a lot. So you know what? I'm just like 8 kilos of fish a day.
Like I said, it really depends on the fish. Some are much more calories.
That's salmon. Pretty common. I mean, like, good as tuna. It's even less. Check tuna. Oh, man, tuna's nothing. But you know, now we're at the point that we're looking at maybe shark. No. I don't know, man.
내가 여기서 지휘가 되는 거 아니야? 뭐.
Should just.
아침에 하고
Oh, what is that?
This water. I don't know, Chinook salmon seems to be like the highest in fat. But you see what I'm saying, right? So like, if you were born in this right? If my meal contains fish and then this, yeah, let's just add in some like, some green beans. Right, and you're at 31 calories per 100 grams. These are 5 meals. Well, you couldn't do it. You have to like 5 meals a day. You have to be continuously eating in order to just like not starve. It just wouldn't work. When I was in college, originally back in the day, when I was fit, muscular. My intake, I had to measure out was 2,500 calories a day.
My intake is like 1,800 calories a day.
I was able to burn like 1,000 calories a day.
난 솔직히 이 단어도
The worst thing is actually when you fight really hard.
Yeah, because your body has like no resources.
Yeah.
Pasta, cheese sauce. Yeah. Now we are talking. This is where you are. It's like adding cheese sauce. It doesn't tell what a serving is, but I imagine it's not very much.
Cheese, no, sorry.
I'm basically thinking cheese.
Yeah.
Why?
That's what a medium pizza doesn't count. So here we go. Large pan pizza. Oh, it's healthy. 370 calories per slice. It depends on what you like. I mean, if you're about the more classic pizzas, because there's like a pizza pie place that's like pie.
You?
So pie is really good.
잘 필요가 있구나.
Thanks for your patience, but
No
can't do much
problem.
about it.
You do what you gotta do.
Hopefully, I'll get my medicines today and I should be okay. Okay. So let's get back. Let's do one last thing because we don't have much time. But I said, instead of just saying, okay, here is the message, something went wrong and you stopped, you would have done a little better. So what you could do is, instead of using this if here and just printing a message, you could use a while here. And you can force the user to give it over and over again. So look what I'll do. So I'll say can use an if, but that's a one-time thing. You know, it's just a one-time thing or process. Let's not call it thing. What am I going to do? I'm going to, instead of this if, I leave it here, I will leave it here, but I'll put a while. I'll put a while here and I'll say while the number of terms is less than or equal to 0. I'm going to print the message for the user. The number of terms provided in the times table should be greater than 0. And I'm going to ask for input again. I'm going to ask for input again. So what will that do? So that will, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to kind of take this out from here because I won't need the else. The else was with the if. I'm going to take it out from here. Okay, what did I need? Okay. I'll keep it here. I'll do my while here. I'll take this message, the number of terms provided should be greater than 0. I'm showing you both ways and then you can see which is better. So before I had this. This is what I had before, right? There should be some way of word wrapping it and I can't find it. Else. So we'll leave this here. An invalid value for number of terms can use an if, but that's a one-time process. So that's a one-time process, okay? And you understand that it is a one-time process. What I'll do is I'll do it a little better. I'll kind of just comment this and I'll use a while instead. I'll use a while instead. And what will you do with the while? You will force the user to provide a positive number. And how will you do that? You will do while terms is greater than or equal to whatever, right? And then when everything is okay, so this will keep going on. This while will keep on and on. And after that, I'll take this and I'll just, it's not a part of the while, and I'll put it here. Then I'll start my usual process. And I'll start my usual process. So I leave it, I'll change this here so that you can see that, oh, she can also do this way. Just so that you know. What did I do? I asked for the number of, for the times table. I asked for terms. And while this terms was less than or equal to 0, it kept on asking and asking and asking. It won't let me go. When everything was okay, now create the times table. Since terms is correct. So you kind of do what you have to do. So you just kind of take your times to be 0 and the logic remains the same. The rest of the logic is just doing the normal logic. But look at the difference of how it will work now. Remember what it was doing before? It was just giving a message. Now look what will happen. Okay, so it says, please provide the number for the times table. We haven't done any check on this. If you wanted, you could have done it for this too, right? So it's 2, and I'm going to say 0. It's going to ask again. I'm going to say -1. It's going to ask again. It's going to ask again. So it gives me a message and asks again. Now if I give a 5, it will work. So now you've made your program better in the sense that you are validating your input. So giving a message is okay. You're still saying, oh, I can't do anything about it. You're not giving a wrong answer. You're saying, I can do it, which is fine. But now you're also forcing the user to give a positive number, take it, and then work with it. And there it goes, which makes you think something else if you can think about it. For now, my whole program is only running once. I have to do an F5 and the whole program runs once. Now that you know the while loop, you can make your program run more than once. You can ask the user, do you want to run again? Do you want to run again? Do you want to run again? Right? So that's what we will incorporate next. But now this is your while. Got it? Right? So that's how while works. Once we finish the while of the whole program, which we could have today, but whatever, then we'll go on to for. Okay? So this program is now saved. This program is now again saved on the blackboard, but it is incomplete. Please keep in mind that this is an incomplete program. Okay? So under week 3, I'm going to put it. So I'm going to put it and I'm going to say it is incomplete. So that you have it, I've put it here and then you can look at it. Okay? And of course, you can run it on the command line. You can try it and run it on the command line.